All right. Lisa, you want to get us started?
I will. Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome. Hello, Be Curious folks. Hello, certified B corporations, and hello, benefit corporations. Welcome to the first event of Be Local Wisconsin in the 2022 year. My name is Lisa Giesenbauer, and I'm the co-chair of this Be Local right now. And it is my pleasure to give you kind of a little frame out of today's event. So first of all, we'll start with some housekeeping because that's always the most important thing to start these events. So we're all real clear. First of all, the event is being recorded. So you are all being recorded. Post the event, we will be sharing a recording with all of the attendees, as well as with, we're going to be posting this webinar on our Be Local Wisconsin website. Second thing, we're asking if you have any questions to please put them in the chat. Realize though that whatever you put in the chat, everybody will see. So if you have a question that may be more of a sensitive nature, please feel free to direct message it to me, Lisa Giesenbauer, through the participant chat, and then I can bring that question up today. The next thing is, if you are somebody who would prefer to use the live transcription feature, which is the closed captioning, there is a button on the bottom of your screen that says CC live transcription, and you can turn that on. The host has enabled it, so you can put requests there, and we will give you permission to use your event today through the closed captioning feature. Oh, and the last thing is that everybody is on mute, and we hope that you will stay on mute throughout today. Again, we will be having many times throughout today's program where you're able to ask questions. Please, again, put your questions into the chat, and then we will be calling on our different B Corps who are present to answer those questions. I think that is it. Super excited to begin today. I'm going to turn it over to Mary now.
Thank you, Lisa. You can see our smiling faces on the slides here, everyone who's participating in today's event. So Lisa, August Ball, Sarah Lusar, myself, Mary Saltello, and Melina Marcus. And I'm going to actually start with just a little bit of what is the B Corp movement, and we're going to have we'll have more detailed information about the process of certification at the end of the program. But I wanted to just start with, where did this all start and how did it come to be and where are we now? So just a couple minutes on this, and that back in sort of 2007 or 8, when the movement started, the founders of B Lab, Jay Cohen and Andrew and Bart Houlihan, were really looking at how do we change the movement of business in moving from focusing on single bottom line of profit to a more stakeholder approach to business, and how business could really be a force for good. And so the movement really started to see the evolution over the last 20 or more years to look at how do we look at business with more than a single bottom line, but more of a quadruple bottom line. So really looking at people, planet, purpose, and profit. And so those were really the foundational elements of moving towards the B Corp movement, and what was really compelling for the founders of B Lab and the B Corp certification. And we're really seeing more and more of that traction now. So it's not just looking at good products, but really looking at good companies, and that consumers are really pushing for good companies, not just good products. So the B Corp certification is really looking at that certification of a business as a whole. And it's similar to what fair trade is to coffee or LEED is to building, but is comprehensive certification process for companies to really acknowledge their commitment to stakeholder impact and stakeholder well-being. So where are we now? In the 15 years or so that B Corp movement has been in process, we are now globally more than 4,600 certified companies. And it is a global movement, 79 countries in 150 different industries and sizes of organizations, really starting from sole proprietors to multinationals. But it is this one unifying goal of business being a force for good. And as I said, we will be digging deeper into the details on, what does certification look like? What's that process later in the program? I'm excited to make the transition to learning about each of the women-led certified B Corps on this program, who are going to tell you a little bit about the why in their business and what helped them make that decision to make this transition to certified B Corp. So I'm going to turn it over to August Bell. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, thanks everyone. My name is August Ball, and I'm the founder and CEO of Cream City Conservation and Consulting. We are located on the ancestral lands of the Potawatomi and Menominee people here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hence, we've named our company after Cream City. Next slide, please. So we are a two-pronged social enterprise. I am an accidental entrepreneur. I got my start working in the conservation sphere over 10 years ago, actually about 15 years ago now, and fell in love with promoting connection to the land, but also connecting young people to nature. And while I love doing that work through a nonprofit, I realized that sometimes philanthropy can be part of the problem. So we prepare young people, predominantly of color, for careers in the environmental industry. We do this through urban agriculture, through green infrastructure, through climate science awareness, as well as policy advocacy and land stewardship, like tree planting, invasive species removal, and trail building. Next slide, please. Before the pandemic, we also promoted career opportunities through our annual Youth Green Job Summit, which is unfortunately on hold right now. Now, because we are not a non-for-profit, our programs are funded solely through profits from our consulting work. And one of the things that drew me to this work is that I noticed over time in working in the conservation sphere that I oftentimes was the only woman and also the only person of color in key decision-making rooms. And I knew logically that that didn't quite make sense. So I wanted to make sure that as I built out my business, I also helped support other environmental organizations in establishing a culture where all could thrive. Next slide, please. So how my B Corp functions is we do consulting work through one-on-one education with our clients, as well as our cohort program, which engages up to 6 different organizations every quarter in doing assessments of their organizational culture and racial equity, putting their entire staff through a series of 7 various workshops to build shared language around racial equity. And we then end with creating a roadmap with the clients so that they can implement these new changes around culture for their organization. So the profits from that work go to support and offset the cost of our conservation work that supports our public lands. And the reason why B Corp is so important to me is that I always had this kind of negative connotation about business, but learning about B Corp helped me realize that I could have control over how our dollars were spent. And one of the key takeaways I realized from being a part of this community is that money is neutral. It's what we do with it that gives it power, that gives it value, that gives it meaning. Thanks. And I'll turn it over to Lisa Giesenbauer.
Thank you, August. Next slide, please, Mary. Okay, hi. So as I said, my name is Lisa Giesenbauer, and I'm the president and founder of Evolution Marketing. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about purpose and passion and how that equals impact. And as the MC for today, I might be bringing back some quotes and some additional data on purpose, because the reality is, in today's day and age, in February of 2022, everyone in the world, doesn't matter where you work or where you live, is talking about purpose. And I think part of that is because of what's happened coming out of COVID. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about Evolution Marketing. We are a woman-owned micro business. We were founded in 2007 in Waukesha County, and we are a mission-based for-profit business, and we have been operating underneath the umbrella of what's called the triple bottom line. So that means that we run all of our business decisions through the lens of the impacts of our business on people. So that could be our employees, that could be our communities, and that could be our clients, as well as the environment. And then lastly, through, is this financially a viable option? We were one of 9 businesses. Oh, go back, Mary. We were one of 9 businesses back in 2009 to pilot the Green Masters program, which was being developed as the B Corp movement was beginning and coming into Wisconsin. And the Green Masters program is very heavily involved in looking at environmentally responsible attributes your business can be doing. And so we were in that program for a very long time. And at our 10-year anniversary, which was in 2017, we decided, we've been meeting our mission, which was to show that a small private service business could operate in a triple bottom line manner. And we decided that, we needed to have some third-party verifications, because up until that point, it had been Lisa and members of my team saying that we're doing these good things. And so we joined 1% for the Planet in 2017, and they actually audit us every year to make sure that we're giving back at least 1% of our sales to environmental nonprofits. In 2018, we became a certified B Corp, which is, again, a third party who verifies our entire way we operate our business. And then in 2019, we joined Carbon Free as their small business partner program, which means that they actually look through our carbon footprint report every year. And we also publicly disclose that so that we are able to say that we're operating our business in a carbon neutral manner. Next slide, please. It's important for us to talk about all of these things and to showcase in a public and transparent manner that we're doing these actions because of the type of business we are. We also redid our mission in 2017. And our new mission is live responsibly, work by example, lead by design, and educate through action. And so with that, we also reframed, because again, we'll be 15 this fall, how we talk about the services that Evolution Marketing offers. And what you can see on this slide, I'm not going to read it for you, but this is how we talk about our services. Basically, we are a sustainability consulting firm first and foremost. And after we've helped our clients with sustainability projects, we then help them to communicate in an open and transparent manner the actions that they are taking. So again, we're very unique in the work we're doing. And we also really want to make sure that the work we are doing for ourselves and for our clients can be verified, because again, we're in this age of what I like to call uber transparency. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about our clients. Here is an image from our recently released 2018 to 2020 social impact and giving report. And as you can see on this slide, the majority of our clients are either nonprofits, or they're women-owned businesses, or they are, as you can see, benefit corporations or certified B corporations. So as you can see, we're really working in this space, in this environmentally.
Lisa, are you with us? I'm not sure if we're hearing. Lisa, are you with us? This is Mary. So it looks like Lisa just lost power. So we're going to jump ahead and hopefully
you can still see and hear me. Oh, that's awesome. I just
okay, you're back. You're back.
House. I'm actually having solar panels.
Now we hear you.
Now. Awesome that you can still see and hear me. I will keep going with my talk. I don't know what happened, but my computer froze up. So, and I lost power to it. Anyway, so at Evolution Marketing, we're actually having solar panels installed right now, and I've got contractors working in my basement. So I don't know what they did, but they really did something to my screen because I can't see you anymore. Anyway, let's go on to just keep going. Okay, let's go on to whoever is following me. I think it's Sarah who is next in the presentations.
Yes, Sarah is next, so we'll hand it over to her. And thanks, Lisa, hanging in there. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Lisa. Pleasure to be here with you all. My name is Sarah Lassar. I'm the Director of Operations at Invest Microfinance, as well as the co-chair of Be Local Wisconsin. And unlike the other wonderful speakers on this call, I did not found my company. I've been with Invest for about 3 years, almost 3 years, it'll be 3 years in May. My colleague John Bishop, who is on this call, founded Invest in 2006. I believe some of my other awesome colleagues are on the call as well today. So I'll give a little bit of background on Invest, kind of what we're up to now, and kind of how that fits into the B Corp journey and our B Corp certification. Next slide, please. Awesome. Going into a bit of, I guess, my colleague John's background. He is a trained ecologist and really was passionate, is passionate about the environment and creating a sustainable world, and really saw poverty as a huge impediment to a truly sustainable world and sustainable economy. Early in the early 2000s, he was working in microfinance and decided to start Invest in 2006 to use market-based mechanisms to create this more equitable, sustainable economy, I guess blending microfinance and the capital markets. And I can explain a little bit about how that looks like on the next slide. Awesome. So we like to say at Invest, we're trying to bridge the gap between capital markets and microfinance. So what that looks like is we raise investments from investors into a pooled investment fund. And a lot of our work is then in finding and researching and getting to know microfinance institutions all across the world to begin long-term lending relationships with them. We emphasize small institutions that are often overlooked by traditional creditors due to, their size or their, supposed geographic risk. But we really do the due diligence to really see, are these risks manageable? And we often see that these small institutions are very strong and are doing a great job in their communities with serving this credit. We want to see that local leadership often within these small institutions. They really know, what their community needs and how to best serve their communities. So kind of our process is, doing that work, analyzing the institution, but then kind of stepping out of the way and, allowing them to make business decisions that are appropriate for them. Part of our niche is also finding institutions with social missions. A lot of our partners serve predominantly women. Many lend for sustainable technologies, such as the solar panels that you see in that bottom left picture. And really just, we want to get to know that they're not just, a financially strong institution, but they're truly serving a need in their community and truly being a partner within their community. So we're currently working with 19 partners. Sorry about that. 11 partners in 11 countries, 19 partners really across the world, and we're continuing to expand that. So these pictures kind of show what we're up to in that way. How that fits in with B Corp, if you move to the next slide. No worries, August. And how that kind of fits into our B Corp journey. B Corps are really, as Mary talked about, we're businesses trying to serve a force for good. And really Invest has done that from the beginning, using those market-based mechanisms to help reduce worldwide poverty. So even though our current certification began in March 2020, our B Corp journey has been long-standing. We actually were certified about 10 years ago. And really a lot of the motivations for certification are both to kind of meet the demand of the socially responsible investing community. This certification means a lot to a lot of our industry and really helps us stand out in that way. But we've also gotten to know a lot of other businesses through Be Local Wisconsin, across industries, which has been incredibly helpful just in planning out how we want to use this certification, and then also just expanding our network, learning from each other, and kind of having a support system, especially in these last 2 years during the pandemic. So we're super happy to be a B Corp and excited to continue growing in this journey with you all. So feel free to head to our website or email me if you'd like to learn more about Invest. I think I will now pass it to Mary Stellatello of Vista Global Coaching and Consulting.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm like moving a lot of things around here, being the technology person and now presenting. So hello, everybody. Welcome. It's great to be with you. Again, my name is Mary Stellatello. I'm principal and founder of Vista Global Coaching and Consulting. And I'm actually calling in, connecting today from the native lands of Oaxaca, Mexico, from the Zapotec people, where I spend the winters working. In the rest of the year, while I'm in Wisconsin, my company is based in Madison, which is the native lands of the Ho-Chunk Nation. So I am really excited to offer you a little bit of my journey. I actually was a 20-year nonprofit leader. I spent the first 20 years of my career working in the area of children and youth services. So I ran a lot of different organizations that supported children, families, and youth. Runaway and homeless youth, children in the foster care system, and also spent some time working internationally with a foundation that supported youth development globally. So my career path was always focused on doing work that supported positive impact and making a difference in the world. And I transitioned out of that direct service work in about 2007 and started to work as a consultant for a national consulting firm in California. And that's when I first heard about the B Corp movement and B Lab, in that there was really a blurring of the do good sector, and that, you know, the nonprofit sector really couldn't hold the corner on the market of doing good in the world. And so when I transitioned out of working for the national firm, I really wanted to demonstrate my values of social impact and making a difference in the world through the company, through my company values. And, you know, as a solopreneur, when you start a business, your values are your business. And I really felt that the B Corp movement really aligned with the values, my own personal values and the values of my business. So connection, equity, positivity, diversity. And so I started my consulting firm to offer consulting services to nonprofits and socially minded businesses, as well as coaching for individuals that want to make a difference in the world. So the firm started in 2010, and because I had known about the B Corp movement and B Lab, as soon as my company was eligible, I went through the certification process in 2012, and Vista Global was certified as the B Corp in Wisconsin, and now is the longest certified B Corp in Wisconsin. So we're in the middle of our 5th certification process right now, and it's really been a journey in understanding how B Lab has really committed to the rigor in making sure that companies are demonstrating the actual policies and practices to meet this certification. So I certified because I really wanted my clients to know that my business was aligned with the principles that I had personally. And the majority of the clients that Vista Global supports are nonprofits, doing organizational development, capacity building, strategy, and mergers between nonprofits. and also board governance work with nonprofits. In the coaching work I do with leaders across all sectors, but really is committed to leaders who are wanting to make a difference in the world. And one of the motivators for certifying, not only just to demonstrate the alignment with my personal values and my company values, was to, there are benefits to certified B Corps. And at the time of certification, you know, larger businesses offered discounts and services. So at that time, in 2012, Salesforce Foundation offered a significant discount to their CRM license so that small businesses like B Corps could engage with Salesforce and really get started with their managing their contact relationships in a robust management system at a price that was accessible. Because my company was a B Corp. You also see there's a process that talks about best for the world, and what that is B Lab identifies the top 5% of those certified B Corps in the 5 different categories: governance, community, environment, customers, and overall, to acknowledge those that have reached the score that is in the top 5% of all those types of businesses in that particular category. So my company has been in the best for the world for 5 years, and the last time was last year in 2021 under the customer focused category. And I think we are, our last speaker who's going to be talking about her business, Rebel Green. I'm not sure if Melina's joined us yet. Lisa, is she here, or Sarah? If not, we're going to skip to Q&A, and then we'll come back to Melina if she hasn't joined us yet.
I don't believe Melina is here yet, and I just put a note into the Q&A. So everyone who's listening, please send us over your questions about purpose in business, and or any questions you may have about any of the businesses that have spoken so far. Once Melina arrives, she had a prior engagement, we will get to hear all about Rebel Green, and I can probably also answer a lot of questions about them if you have them as well. Well, what we'd like to do is we'd like to have each of our different, I'm going to kind of be the MC, and I'm going to field questions for each of our different speakers. So as you all think about questions, I would like to I'd like to ask, oh, good. Darren, thank you. Can you be specific about the benefits of being a B Corp? This is great. And Sarah, you had touched on this. I'd like you to talk a little bit more about how being a B Corp has helped your company, customer service, and impact. And then after Sarah, we will keep going. If there's more questions, others can speak about this as well. Sarah, to you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I think just generally touched on this. I think part of, you know, the reason for certifying was just, I guess, in our industry, the socially responsible investing industry. A lot of companies have this, and it has become kind of something, I guess, that people want to see in this industry, that we're really doing, I guess, what we say we're doing. But I think further than that, it really just helped us, especially as a small business, going through this certification, to realize kind of really looking at our business from a high level, at our policies, at kind of, I guess, even, the structure of, how we run day-to-day things, all the way to our, our board structure and governance. Really doing the assessment helped us, I guess, think about how we're answering these questions, and helped us develop more policies, and added some structure around some of the things we really didn't have, I guess, as a small business. And I think that will help us, I guess, as we, continue to grow, invest, and to recertify, to have those policies in place.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm now going to ask August to answer the same question, seeing as you just completed Cream City's B Corp certification in December, right? So August, share your insight and experience.
Yes, absolutely. So I personally was looking for an alternative to being a 501c3 or a nonprofit. I didn't want to be dependent on philanthropy. And so, much to Sarah's point, going through the B Corp process allowed me to take all of the practices that were in my mind, as I call it, vapor to paper, and actually, as a founder, get that onto paper. So it's not just living in my head. So I can start essentially preparing for my successor as I, move throughout my career. The other part of this is that it's proof of the magic. It's proof that you're doing good work, and that you are using business for good. It's one thing to know that you're having a positive impact on the lives of your clients, on the lives of in my case, the young people who we are employing to do conservation work. It's another to actually have the data. And as a social scientist, I really appreciate data. The next is that it's a value add for your clients. Our customers are even more choosy and discerning about who they spend their money with. And there are a lot of consultants out there that do diversity work. And that in of itself is a really great thing, but it's a whole nother ball game to be able to say, not only are we doing good work in the service industry, providing a service, education service to a client, we're also reinvesting that money to help solve the problem we're trying to help you solve. So that, and then just the fact that it also helps keep us accountable to what we say our mission and values are.
That is terrific, August. I know you and I have talked about this for years, right? About how when you started your business, is Crim City 5 years old now?
We are. We actually became a B Corp on our 5th birthday.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I know that when you started, everyone said, oh, you need to be a nonprofit. And you're like, I don't want to be a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And I know way back in the beginning, you would tell people, well, I'm a multi-pronged social enterprise. And I think in just the last 5 years, so much has changed, right? In the market space when it comes to how we think about this. And we're so happy to have you as a B Corp. So yay.
And I will say this, friends, when I started my business, I was searching for a business coach, and I either got like you were saying, Lisa, you should just become a nonprofit, or you should abandon this part of your business that doesn't seem to be generating a bunch of profits. And so it was a struggle to try to find a business coach that understood the value of a social enterprise, of using business for good rather than just as a form of extracting all of the profits. So really excited to be a part of this community.
That's wonderful. We're excited to have you. So we've got some other additional good questions. The first question we have is from Lori, and she is wondering if there are any tax or other benefits to your business for being a I'm going to say certified B Corp. There is a difference, Lori, between being organized as a benefit corporation versus being a certified B Corp. So all of us on the call today, or all of us on the webinar today, we're certified B Corps. That means we've been audited by B Lab as a third party for our systems and our operations, whereas being organized as a benefit corporation in Wisconsin, you could be an LLC, an LLP, an S Corp or a C Corp. So that's an organizational structure. So when you talk about tax benefits, I will let you know that I believe Mary's business, and I know Evolution Marketing and potentially August's business as well, we're all part of we donate 5% of our services every year as pro bono back to our clients. And with that, because we track, measure, and monitor that, we are able to take that information. So we get a letter. So for example, at Evolution Marketing, I get a letter every year from the nonprofits we work with that say Evolution Marketing donates so many hours and there's a value associated with that. I can take that letter and give it to my accountant, and we can use that from a tax standpoint for our business. Mary, I don't know if you have any, I don't know if you do that. I don't know if you have any other insight about that.
Sure. Lori, it's great to see you on the call. So thanks for joining. I think perhaps a part of the question she might be asking is about general public buying into certified B Corps or benefit corporations as like stock options. And there has been some companies that are certified B Corps and also I'm imagining are legal benefit corporations that have actually given public offerings. There are a handful of them which give the opportunity for general public individuals to invest in companies that have gone through the rigor of becoming either a certified B Corp or also have that benefit legal structure, the benefit corporation structure. And in Wisconsin in particular, there are, I don't know how many states there are now, they're probably closer to 40 now, because when Wisconsin's legislation passed in 2017 and was enacted, actually, oh my goodness, Lisa, it's like almost like right to the day
I know,
that it was
right?
enacted, like February 28th, 2018 was when the benefit legislation was enacted in Wisconsin that allowed S Corps and C Corps to bake into their corporate DNA with some legal protection to become a legal benefit corporation. That is not the certification, but it is the legal structure which protects management with that commitment to shareholder benefit. So that's a little bit of a rambling answer, but there are some companies that do have public offerings that individuals can invest in that are benefit corporations and certified B Corps. And I see Tom Eggert has a question. So back to, I'm going to ask this one to you, Lisa, since you haven't gotten to answer anything. What % of customers mention your B Corp status as the reason that they're engaged with you?
That's a great question. And thank you, Tom, for that. What's interesting, when we first became certified in 2018, maybe it was 30 to 40%, but I tell you what, in 2022, it's every single client I've talked to. Last year, I'd say it's probably 80% of the people I talked with last year. And it's super interesting. I'm doing a lot of work with nonprofits, as I showed you before with that slide we had up. I mean, we've always done a lot of work with nonprofits, but it seems like in 2022 or 2021 and beyond, nonprofits also really want to work with certified B Corps who are also engaging in addressing climate change too. I think that's also another big part of this, not only that we're certified B Corp, but we're taking very practical and pragmatic actions to address climate change. That too is also very important. All right, so Alex has a question. Hello, Alex. His question is, how has the before and after been becoming a B Corp? And so I know, August, we've had you speak, but you are our newest one on the call. So I'm going to throw that out to you, talking about before being a B Corp and now being so a year ago till now. And then was it easier for you with your clients? Because again, you're also working in a really innovative space, right? The DE&I space. So talk about how being a B Corp has impacted you there.
Well, for one, we actually have a set of policies that are like written down rather than just in my head or just part of our culture. Because my right-hand woman who manages our conservation side of and program side of the business has been with me since she was 16 years old, is now a full-blown adult. But so we had this understanding, but now we have actual documentation to share with future employees, to share with our partners. We share it as a model for our clients to aspire to as well. Our new clients, I would say, since we started sharing that we were pursuing B Corp certification, have also mentioned that partnering with us or hiring us rather, was a reason for choosing our organization as their consultant rather than alternatives.
August, not to interrupt, but I have to say, I totally agree with you. I've received random phone calls this year. So for those of you who don't know, behind the B Lab, it's called the Beehive. So it's a marketplace for professional service and for all different B Corp businesses where you can put your products out there. And I have Evolution Marketing listed. I've gotten random cold calls from businesses who want to become a B Corp or are a B Corp who need professional marketing services. And again, there's definitely a motivation, right, for us to work together. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the B Corp. What is it called? Our interdependence, what is it called? Mary, what's it called? The statement of interdependency? Is that the name of it?
Certificate of interdependence, I think, or statement of interdependence. Yeah.
Yes. So obviously you want to touch on that real quick, or you and I both can talk about it, just how we're all working together, right? So I know you and I are friends. You and I have worked together. We support each other, but the B Corp family is like that. We want to work with other B Corps. So I do work with certified B Corps in Wisconsin to help them, and with folks outside of Wisconsin, same thing for you, right? We're all working together to move this movement forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say, I think we have up to 6 clients every quarter. 2 of our clients right now are certified B Corps themselves and found us, through the community. So, and they're a for-profit B Corp. So that's, super exciting.
Yay.
Do you want me to talk about the level program, or do we still take some more Q&A?
We're gonna keep doing Q&A. We will talk about the level program, which is super exciting. Lori just came back with she was asking, wonderful that there's so many of us that are women owned and women led. And I think since August, you've participated in previous International Women's Day. So as we all know, March is International Women's Day. And as those of us who are on this call today, we are all either women-owned businesses or women-led businesses. And how important is that in this day and age? And I'm going to just share a statistic with everyone right now. So last December, a report came out for Wisconsin, and it was really an interesting report. And I'm going to actually share the link to the report right now in the chat. And the report talked about women in Wisconsin and what was going on in the workplace, because everyone is talking about the Great Resignation. Well, this report actually took it one step further and looked at women in Wisconsin and what women in Wisconsin are thinking, feeling, and saying about their occupation. And what it found is that 88% of women want to work for a purpose-driven company. An additional piece of this is that 50% of the women who participate in it, so this is as of December of last year, were thinking about leaving their position in Wisconsin. So I think when you start to think about the role women are playing, what's happened with COVID, and this Great Resignation, or one might say the great reflection on how we work, what is the role of work, what is the role that we play in each, in our lives with work. All of these things are shifting and changing right now because the way we think about work has changed so tremendously due to COVID. And so I think what's interesting is that at least everywhere I turn, people are talking about, and specifically women are talking about, starting their own business, working for themselves, taking literally some power back, or maybe empowering themselves to be able to control their own day, their schedule. And I think that this is something that we're starting to see around the world. I think the B Corp movement fits into that. I don't have any data. I don't know if any of our other speakers do, about the number of B Corps that are women owned. I know that the majority of B Corps are smaller, small to mid-sized businesses. Yes, Lori, it is a great silver line to the pandemic. I don't know, Mary, do you have any specific data on number of women owned? I don't have a sense of that.
I think there was a piece of data that with respect to women-owned B Corps that was shared with the We the Change group, but it may not be up to date. So I would like to dig into that and get that specific piece of information before I make a guess about data that was maybe a couple of years ago. But to this point, Lisa, I did want to add one of the other benefits that I think probably all of our organizations have noticed by being certified is the workforce is looking to work for purposeful organizations. And, and so this incoming workforce is looking, B Lab and the B Corp website, there is a particular job function called B Work, which is actually a job board. And you don't have to be a B Corp to post there, I don't think, but people are looking for B Corp.
You might have to be a benefit corporation, but purpose-driven,
to be able to post there. Purpose-driven, and so that's another, because the challenge of hiring right now, as Lisa, you were just mentioning with respect to the workforce, people are looking to work for companies that have purpose and are committed to. August, you were awesome. Thank you. 640 were women owned as of 2018. Thank you for that. A researcher on the line here. So that's another benefit. And I have to tell you that I have found interns that way. They found me that way, as well as employees looking for positions with organizations. So another benefit there.
No, I think that's great, Mary. So it's bwork.org, and yeah, it's literally that it has grown tremendously. It used to be kind of like nested in the B Lab website, and now it's its own external portal because there's so many folks who are looking to work for purpose-driven companies. So it's not only women, I think it's also Generation Zers and millennials. All the data that I've seen there, literally, yeah, link to BeWork right there. They all talk about how they really want to work at a company that's doing good. And I think that's also why we saw, so I don't know, here's a fun fact. There were 6,000 businesses that applied in the last 2 years to be certified B Corps. Now this is across the whole country, the world, not just the United States. But there's only 4,500 of us, right? So in 2021, so 2020 and 2021, they had 6,000 businesses apply. I think that's a pretty amazing. So that shows us that clearly businesses want to become certified B Corps. That's also kind of why there's a little bit of takes a little while to become a certified B Corp because there's a process. But I think this movement and this growth is huge. When Mary certified in 2012, there were only a couple in Wisconsin. When Evolution Marketing certified in 2018, we were the 7th certified B Corp. So clearly we've seen a tremendous growth just in Wisconsin. We now have 17 certified B Corps here. Are there other questions that people from the audience may have about purpose and work and the B Corp movement? Okay, here's a great question. Is there any concern that larger corporations will try to use this process as a greenwash? This is great. I'll start, and then I'm going to hand this off to Mary as well, because I think she and I have both been involved in this movement for a long time. And there are some very large Fortune 100 companies that are part of the B Corp movement. So for example, Unilever back in I believe it was 10 or 2011, their CEO, Paul Pullman at the time came in and he said, we want to take Unilever and we want to move Unilever to being a mission-based, purpose-driven company. Lisa's words, not Paul's words, okay? And with that, we want to create a more equitable and just system for our business. And so what he did is first of all, he stopped doing quarterly shareholder meetings. And instead, they said, we're going to move away from that. So we're worrying about profits every quarter. We're going to look at the big picture. And from there, then Unilever now has, I believe it's 8 certified B Corps within their portfolio of companies. I believe the first one that they purchased was Ben & Jerry's, and I think it was 2011 or 2012. Don't quote me on the year. But what's interesting is that Unilever then, because they've been buying up companies that were certified B Corps, by bringing those certified B Corps into their parent company, right? They're then able to model the good behaviors. And as August had talked about before, structures of governance, they've been able to bring those in then to their other companies to share that information. So then, fast forward, Paul Pullman worked with the UN, the Global Compact Group, to create the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals that were released in 2015. And under his leadership, Unilever had really championed. I mean, I could talk about Unilever for hours, but they really championed some pretty amazing things, movements within their business space globally to help their business really to be put in these systems that are more equitable. So I know, Mary, you popped on, so I'm sure you have some great insight about this as well.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa, for that great story. And I think the rigor behind the certification process makes it really difficult for there to be greenwashing, because it's not just one area of your business. So companies can't really hide. They can't just say, well, we're going to, get certified with respect to environmental aspects of our business, but not look at the people side of our business or the clients that we work with or the supply chain practices if we're in manufacturing. And so really, this type of certification, I think, is gained a lot of credibility globally because of the level of rigor with respect to the questions that have to be answered and the documentation that's necessary to actually meet the level of expectations.
That's excellent, Mary. And for folks that don't know, we're going to move on to our resources section next. And then following the resources section, we're going to dig into learning more about what it takes to become a certified B Corp. And so if you have any questions about the certified B Corp process, please feel free to put them in the chat now. We're going to talk about resources. I don't remember who's our first resource. Is it you, Mary?
It is. Hang on a second. Can you hear me still?
We can, yeah, we totally can hear you.
Okay, just a second. I gotta get back to my tech mode here. Switching hats.
That's okay. I'll talk about the resources high level. So for those of you who don't know, because B Lab, the movement has been growing tremendously over time. There have been many, I'm going to call initiatives that have sprung out of the B Corp movement. And so these we're now calling resources, and we're going to share with you some of the key ones that we think are great. They're free, they're open to the public, and they're things that you as the audience who want to learn more have access to. So we'll start with Mary and We the Change.
All right, and I'm hoping that you guys are seeing this slide and not my email, is that right? Okay, great, that's what we're hoping for. So We the Change, as I had mentioned earlier, just briefly, is a collective action group from B Lab that launched about 3-4 years ago, in really to focus on those women B Corp leaders. And to that question of how many B Corps are actually led by women, and increasing the level of equality and equity in the business environment for 50% of the population who are in the workforce. So it is a volunteer-driven group right now. We have been doing various aspects and commitments to different types of strategy around elevating women in business. So the 4 areas of commitment you'll see here on the screen are with respect to, there's a community there. So to the point that Lisa was talking about with respect to the beehive in the workplace of sharing resources, there's a lot of support in sharing resources. Hey, can someone recommend a particular accounting firm or bookkeeper? I'm looking for a bank that will support, employee cooperative organizations, et cetera. So there's communication through a Slack channel as well as a Google group. And you just, need not even to be a certified B Corp to be a part of this. There is a pledge, which is on the website. There's over 900 people who have signed the pledge. So allies as well as women-led companies have signed the pledge. One in particular political action that the group rallied around was in the 2020 elections. There was a large postcard campaign, and We the Change group actually sent out tens of thousands of postcards in support of the 2020 election. There also is a commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals, and I believe Lisa may be chatting about that a little bit further. So I am a member of the leadership circle on this, and I'm happy to answer any of the questions. We'd love to have more people joining us in this collective action group of B Lab and the B Corp movement.
Thank you, Mary.
I'm going to turn it over to the Climate Collective, and I think, Lisa, you're going to talk about this.
I am. So Melina will be here, everyone. She is just hung up at her doctor's appointment. So she will be coming a little bit later. So we'll get to hear all about Rebel Green in just a little while. But Melina and I are both actually part of the B Corp Climate Collective. So there are several different climate collectives out there in the world. We're part of specifically this one. And the graphic that you're looking at right now in front of you, this actually so it's the job of every business leader and policymaker to take climate action. It's our job at B Lab to help. This graphic was literally created for the COP26 talks last year in 2021 in Glasgow. And what was interesting is literally B Lab's UK and EU took over literally all of the billboards and public signages on buses and on vehicles throughout the EU during the last COP26 summit, with this messaging saying it's our job to act, it's your job to manage, it's your job to advocate, trying to raise awareness about climate action and the fact that this is something that impacts everybody. Real quick, high level, the B Corp Climate Collective was started in 2018 or 2019. I can't remember. I've been involved with it for a long time. I just don't remember what year it started. And it came out one of the first big missions of the Climate Collective was literally to say at COP25, it was to get as many certified B Corps to sign on to say that we will be net zero by 2030. And so Evolution Marketing was the first business in Wisconsin to do that. And we were one of, I believe there were 525 of us in December of 2019, December 2019 at COP25, who publicly made the statement that we will be net zero by 2030. Now you say, that's wonderful, Lisa, but lots of people are making net zero statements. What's different about this is the fact that as certified B Corps, we get re-evaluated every couple of years. So every couple of years, as Mary said, she's on her 5th recertification. Evolution Marketing is finishing our 2nd recertification right now. Every 3 years, you have to recertify as a B Corp, as a certified B Corp. So what that means is that you have to continue to add, how do I say this right way? Continue to improve your business. So it's all about continuous improvement. And every cycle, B Labs does a new set of questions. So right now we're in version 6.0 of the BIA, which is the B Impact Assessment. When Evolution Marketing certified, we certified under the version 5. Now we're on to version 6. And so as we certify every 3 years, we're on the next version of the B Impact Assessment. And that B Impact Assessment is growing and evolving as the world is growing and evolving. So for a business to come out and say that, yes, we're going to be part of this net zero by 2030, this actually is a true legitimate commitment, because B Labs is going to hold all of us who are certified B Corps feet to the fire to make sure that actually happen. And so that's a little bit different than companies. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that many companies will make statements saying we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but they're not having a third party holding their feet to the fire, where the B Corp movement is holding our feet to the fire. Today, there are over 1,700 businesses, certified B Corps. So of our 4,400, 1,700 of those have signed on to be net zero by 2030, which I think is really great. There's a wonderful website. It's bcorpclimatecollective.org. There are playbooks, there's toolkits, there's amazing resources. So if your business does not know where to begin in addressing climate, check it out. It is filled full of them. Okay, the next one I think might be me now. Be the Change. So for those of you who are not familiar with Be the Change, it's bethechange.com, and it's a media group for B Corps. Yes, I'm a marketing communications person, so I love Be the Change. So what's super cool about it is there's 2 ways that it can help you. One, it can provide you education about what's happening in the B Corp movement. And it's a page, it's hosted through medium.com, and it's the Be the Change section on Medium. And what B Labs does, and B Labs works with Bark Media, and Bark Media puts together, and they manage this for them, they put together articles. So if you look at this image on the screen, the image to the right says 17 B Corp vendors and suppliers that can help amplify your company's positive impact. So what Bark Media does is they work in concert with B Labs US and Canada, as we're talking about the US and Canada right now, not globally, and they highlight and showcase different businesses within the B Corp movement who are working to help other B Corps be successful. So in this case, it's these B2B B Corps offer services and products with a purpose beyond profit. Okay. And then, so they do these stories monthly. So if you are looking for holiday gifts, like they do amazing holiday gift guides. I know Rebel Green has had their products in the holiday gift guides, and there's all different types of guides like this that are put out through Be the Change. The second way, if you look to the left, is an article, is where your business, if you're a certified B Corp, you can write articles and you can use the Be the Change site as a place to share articles that you are passionate about. So my intern and I last year wrote an article, how forward-thinking businesses can address systemic inequalities through adoption of the SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals. So our article is posted on Be the Change. And it's great. So we've had several articles from other Wisconsin-based B Corps posted on Be the Change over time. I know Tribe 9 has had articles, Artisan Dental has had articles. I think Riverwater Partners, I think there's been an article about you up there. Anyway, if there's any B Corps who are listening and you'd like to write an article, I can connect you with the folks at Bark Media, or there's on the Be the Change landing page, they have a link that you can fill out so you can submit an article. So it's a great way for those of us in the community to share what we're doing. I know that Cream City was, so August Business Cream City was featured in an article last year about our next talking point, which is the Level program. Next slide, and I'm going to turn over to August now.
Thank you, and sorry for the delay. 2 years of this, and you think I'd know where the mute button was. Okay, so friends, I am super proud of the fact that Cream City Conservation is Wisconsin's first Black-owned certified B Corp. It's awesome, super honored. However, it's 2022, friends. And I also think it's simultaneously unacceptable that we only have one Black-owned certified B Corp in the state of Wisconsin. I became a certified B Corp, or my company rather became a certified B Corp because of the B-level program that Lisa Giesenbauer so graciously connected me with. And this is a program that is specifically designed to support organizations that are led by Black, Indigenous, and people of color, specifically led by women of that identity. So businesses that tend to face higher barriers, more significant limitations. Just as a quick side note, white-led businesses are 30 times more likely to receive funding than Black-owned or Indigenous and people of color-owned businesses. So the B-level program is a process where up to 10 different organizations that are BIPOC and women-led receive support and connection to another entity that helps them through the certification process. So what this means is that this is B Lab's intention to help cultivate more businesses so that of color who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity or the resources to be able to navigate through the certification process on their own. So if we have any folks on the call today who are BIPOC and women-led, please do consider applying for the B Lab program. I'm sorry, the level program. I had an amazing experience. We went through our most challenging year of business in 2021 ever, hopefully ever. Again, and the B Corp certification process really helped us in putting some structure around what we were trying to do. I am not an entrepreneur by spirit. This is totally something, as I mentioned, I've accidentally fallen into, but I've also accidentally fallen in love with it. So the deadline to apply is March 11th. Please do make sure that if you or anyone you know could be a great fit for the program, please do consider it. And also just another plug for Evolution Marketing. They are also one of our local Wisconsin companies that helped folks go through the B Corp certification process. Anything I missed, Lisa and Mary?
Oh, that's great, August. And thank you so much. I think the big point, and this is just a follow up with what August is talking about, is that in, I believe it was 2020, B Labs internally as an organization said, you know, we know that we don't have a lot of BIPOC owned and women owned businesses, and we really want to put our money where our mouth is, right? If these are our values, we want to invest. And the level program, which August Business was literally one of the first to beta test the program. I mean, this program only started last year. So I think that's really important to note that B Lab US and Canada is trying very hard to put programs and structures in place so that we can help bring individuals and businesses who may not have opportunity or be able to afford, right, a consultant to help them go through this process and become a certified B Corp. I don't know, August, do you have anything more to add about that? To me, it shows a mark of leadership, in my opinion, you know, that this organization is really putting programming in place to help address problems that they see. Because really, I mean, the UN says it. The biggest issue we see is systemic inequalities that exist, right? And as you had said, with the data and access just to funding alone, and then throw women of color on top of that, it's even more challenging, right, for funding and for access to other opportunities.
Absolutely. I will just add that going through the level program helped take a process that I would have considered very cumbersome, very stressful if I were to have done it on my own. Quite supportive. My entire team felt supportive through the process. Our consultant was extremely flexible in helping us shift around priorities so that we can get our deadlines met. And again, I can't speak highly enough about the experience and what it has meant for my company, just to be able to establish some of those structures that will help us in being more effective for years to come. So I strongly, strongly recommend, again, if you personally don't qualify for this, please do share it widely with anyone. You never know who's thinking about building a business. And this could be the impetus for that. So thanks.
Thank you, August. Yes, and we really would like to grow our number of minority-owned businesses in Wisconsin. So we have in our Be Local newsletter, we're sharing information about this. We've shared it on social media. Please share with anybody you know, because we believe it's really important to have a robust Be Local Wisconsin that actually represents businesses that represent all the people of Wisconsin. So now we are going to move into certification questions. So if you have a specific certification question, please put it into the box. I know there's one right now. Lori wrote, is there a minimum level of income capitalization required to become certified? Are there educational chits, i.e. MBA preparation? Okay, first of all, there is not a minimum level of income capitalization. You can be a small business as a small business, you can apply to become a certified B Corp. What you do need though, to make it so that there's two ways of doing it. You can start off, if you are starting a brand new business, there's this thing called a pending B Corp certification. You can apply for that but you have to be in the first year of your business. So for example, if you started a business in 2022 and you filed your articles of incorporation in 2022, that would be awesome. You could come in as a pending B Corp, and then you have within 1 year of being a pending B Corp, you have to then complete the B impact assessment for that next year of your business. Okay. A lot of businesses though, when they start, aren't ready maybe to start putting structures in place at the very beginning. So if you're already a business that's been in existence, you really need to have 2 years worth of, I'm going to say, records. You don't per se have to have income, because again, not all businesses, depending on their structure, show income in their first couple of years, but you have to have 2 years of records. You have to have records for how you organize your structure, the activities and actions you're taking and doing, because you need to look at the last 2 years of your business when you go through the certification process. Mary, do you want to talk anything at all about this? Did I miss anything? And or Sarah, I know you guys recertified in 2020, and maybe you could talk after Mary's done sharing some of your experiences with your most recent recertification.
Well, I'm still in my recertification process. Thanks, Lisa. And I think what's happened over the last 10 years, as I mentioned, Vista Global's first certification was in 2012, is that B-Lab, and Lisa, you of course can speak to this also as one of the certifying consultants in the group that, the group that supports companies with their certification process, is that there's a new level of rigor to really identify the impact your business is having, and they call them impact business models.
Impact
IBMs
business models,
is what
yep.
they're called. So that really having to demonstrate outcomes. If you say, for example, my company does a lot of work with nonprofits and those beneficiaries. Well, how do you measure the impact that you're actually having on those beneficiaries? Not that you're just delivering services. So there's a level of rigor as companies that we need to be able to demonstrate. It's not just that we deliver services to organizations that are mission driven, but actually what type of change is happening with those beneficiaries.
Yeah, Mary, that's exactly right. And we'll talk, let's let Sarah tell us about her experiences, and let's come back to that, because I think that talking about the impact business model is important, because I think that's a point where people get confused. So Sarah, can you talk a little bit about the impact business model that Invest fits under, and tell us kind of some of the things that came up during your last recertification?
Yeah, I guess, so yeah, we officially certified our current certification in March 2020. So we were working on that quite a bit in 2019. And I guess I wasn't here when we did our original certification, but I know from stories from John that, I guess the certifications changed a lot, and kind of how, we're a very small business. And I think at first it was a lot of things were not as applicable. But I think, it's been developed, I guess, the certification to really apply to a lot more businesses, and kind of so we're able to answer a lot of these questions. I think it's kind of, yeah, a unique model, because I know we talked a lot about like our different stakeholders in the assessment. And so we have, it's both employees, our investors, but also our international microfinance partners. So I think, I'm trying to remember specific questions, but I think just answering a lot of questions, I guess, how our business and how our operations affect all of those stakeholders. I think, yeah, each business, I guess, has a pretty different experience of that, but I think that was something, I guess, unique to us, as we were both US based, but, working very internationally. I'm curious to see how we'll get recertified next spring. So getting prepared for that pretty soon.
Well, and John just wrote Sarah in the notes that the process is far more friendly to small businesses today than it was in 2010 and 2011. Yeah, and I have to agree. And I think too, the fact that Invest, so much of the work you're doing is not here, right? So you're operating in a global manner, right? And I'm sure, I don't know, do you know what the percentage is? It is? It's probably 80 or 90%. And maybe you said this before and I missed it when my computer died, but so much of your money, right? You bring the money in here, but it's invested globally.
Right. Yeah. All of our lending is done outside of the US internationally. So yeah, quite a few, different kind of countries to work with, but yeah.
And how do you, so I know, going back to the impact business model, one of the questions is, how does a business showcase the impacts of their work in a developing country? So my question to you is, Sarah, what ways does Invest track and measure and monitor the money you give and then the outcomes from that money? So I know you're doing micro lending, right? So do you measure like the number of businesses that were created, or the number of kids that were able to go to school in a community? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I can touch on some of that and what we do. So yeah, like I said in my kind of part of the presentation, we're lending often to the institution itself, finding really strong and socially focused enterprises to lend to. We do love, we get a lot of pictures of end borrowers and a lot of, I guess, stories, which I think are great to hear. I know a couple of my colleagues have done visits to these institutions, again, to meet and to learn about those things. But I guess a lot of the stories about end borrowers aren't necessarily tracked. It's really tracking on the institution themselves. So looking at their financial success, but also, are they truly fulfilling the social mission, and, how many women are they lending to, kind of those rural versus non-rural, but then kind of letting them manage those details of the end borrowers. But it's something we love to hear, and I think we'll continue to learn about as we do visits. And yeah.
No, that's great, because I think
Thanks, Lisa.
No, that's good, because I think one of the biggest things when you're completing the B impact assessment is trying to figure out which impact model you fit under. And there are over 100 different ones, right? So being able to quantify and then tell those stories. So as B Lab said, so Evolution Marketing is considered a B Corp consultant, and so we're part of a group of consultants that work with B Corps. And we were told, this is, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago at a consultant call, that the reality is, it's nice that there's impacts, but you have to measure the outcomes of the impacts from your business. And so I think that's something that all of us as B Corp struggle with. And that, I think, gets back to the purpose again, right? Is how do we not only tell the qualitative story, but how do we quantify some of that data, right? And I think that's what you're saying, Sarah, with the institutions that Invest is partnering with, is those institutions are able to say, we were able to help 50 women or 500 women, and they were able to help their families raise out of poverty, right? Or I don't want to make something up, but like clear data like that, because I think that's really important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, figuring out where we work, and I guess, we do, get some of those numbers. So kind of, I guess doing some work on our end to really see where that's going, because it's not always yeah, directly, what we're involved in. But yeah, that'll be interesting to, again, see how that looks in the
Well,
future.
and as you're evolving, right?
Right.
As you go
As we
through this
grow.
process, you're learning more through the process, and you're establishing these relationships so that it's easier for Envest in the future to do some of the tracking, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for sharing that example. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I would say Envest is probably one of the more complicated impact investing or impact models, right? Whereas it might be easier for Evolution Marketing or for Vista Global or Cream City to showcase where we say this is how many, we have 50% of our clients are nonprofits, and of those 50%, we donated time back. That's a lot easier. Okay, John's got some information here. Envest value add is access to credit. About 9,000 people have access to credit due to Envest activities. That is awesome. See, and this is the type of data that the B impact assessment helps us to bring out. And then John and his team can now use this data to share their story too. And I think that really gets to what are the impacts of the work that we're doing, right? And that's why we're certified B Corps. That's awesome. Good job, Envest team. Thank you for sharing that, John.
Good stat, John.
So we're going to ask if there are any other questions about certifying. Otherwise, we have some slides that we can talk through with you all. But I want to make sure that if anybody who's listening has specific questions about the B Corp certification process. Okay, Lori just wrote, have you business owners learned things about your work and its impacts that surprised you? I'm going to turn this over to August because she and I were talking about this not too long ago. The silver lining, August, from 2020, 2021. Talk about that.
Oh God, I mean, there's so much that we've talked about. I don't know exactly, but
tied to the B Corp, tied to becoming a B Corp.
I guess, well, I don't know if this is what you mean, Lisa, but so I went through this process with my right-hand woman who was in charge of our core program. And so it was very transparent to go over like, how much is everybody making in the organization? And we found that there was only a $2 to $10 max difference between our lowest paid employee and myself. And like, I believe that if you can't afford to pay people a living wage, you don't have a viable business. And so I felt like that is definitely something that helped solidify the trust and relationship I have with my team also. I don't know, do you want to give me a little bit more?
No, that's awesome. I think it was the transparency. I think the quote you had said to me was something along the lines of, you were surprised at how equitable your business was, because we talk about it all the time, right? But once you have to start to measure it, right? And you measured it and you're like, wow, I'm actually doing the things I said I'm doing.
Yeah. Being able to really like have the data that to the proof of the magic, if you will, has been really great. And then it also allows us to, if we know what we're tracking, then we can improve it. If it needs to be improved, we can look at where are we being successful, and can we take some of those successes, those tactics, and apply them in other areas of the business too.
Yeah. That's excellent. And I think that gets to a question we have right now in terms of meeting the goals you thought you had, or the effects that your services had on recipients. What did you learn through the process? Did you come out saying, what I love what you do. So I think you've been very successful in offering your services, but I'm going to let you tell me if the proof was there in the pudding, as far as the programs and the youth that you're helping. Were you able to have better data now to showcase what they're doing and the impact you've had on their lives?
So that's something that I would say we're probably already doing through our culture assessment with the students and our core members, but being able to share that with B Corp in terms of looking at, who's coming back to organizations year after year, who's securing full-time employment, who's staying within the environmental industry, who's not, but still having that be a part of their, personal lives has been really impactful. But also looking at our clients to see how they have been growing and shifting their impact year after year too. So we're in this phase now where we do culture assessments and racial equity audits with our clients. So we've got a good cohort of folks who are now on their second or third time of reassessing themselves and being able to see the shift in culture, to see the increase in representation of their staff and their partnerships, and if they're a youth serving organization, if the youth in their program. So yeah, all of that has been extremely valuable.
And it's amazing. I can't wait till you have something public that you can share, like an impact report, because that's the type of stuff that Lisa loves. I don't think people will realize that this type of work can happen and that it's successful, right? Because so much of this is kind of, it's new, it's emerging, right? So we're in this emerging space.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So congratulations, August. Thank you for sharing. Mary, do you have anything that you would want to add about things that you've learned through your B impact assessment, about the goals that you had? And
sure. Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate that, bringing that up. And there's a few other comments in the chat that we can pick up on as well. I think one of the things that going through the assessment does is it makes you as a business owner actually think about questions that you hadn't thought about previously. Like, oh, wow, I could approach my practices, the practices that I have, or how I engage the clients, or how I engage in the community in ways that I hadn't thought of. So, one example is carbon use, and really measuring what your carbon impact is. And wow, that there's actually, there's calculators, and you can really think about the choices that you make in the environment, in your environmental practices, which is different than necessarily outcomes with your clients. But it is I think the certification process really helps us as business owners think more holistically about how we are engaging in the world. Are we being radically inclusive and richly regenerative in our practices holistically? So that, I think, is really a powerful benefit of going through the impact assessment process, because it makes you stop and pause and think about where are there areas in your business practices that you could consider doing differently that you hadn't even had visibility to thinking about.
Well, and Mary, I want you to also talk about, because you are our longest running B Corp, and this is your 5th recert. I mean, for me, just going from BIA 5.0 to BIA 6.0, that's a change. Now, I can't imagine you probably went from like 2 to 6, so as the B impact assessment has grown and evolved, and like we talked about, the net zero by 2030 has been added. There's all these other characteristics or facets that mainstream business is now being asked to deal with today. And that's all being worked into the B impact assessment. So talk about how that has helped you to stay ahead of the curve, right? As a leader in the space that you're in, because I'm making the assumption that because you keep recertifying that is helping, pushing you to continue to be better and to grow and evolve as a business.
Thanks, Lisa. Yes, every time I sort of brace myself for, okay, how do I have to up our game now? Because with every version of the B impact assessment, there is an increased level of rigor. There weren't BIAs 3 versions ago. Like, that was not something that was in the formula. And so, BI, business impact models, impact business models. There's so many acronyms. Get them aligned right. So those impact business models didn't exist several versions ago, and so you really didn't think about how you were doing your business in such a way. Was it something related to education or social enterprise serving businesses? I mean, as you mentioned, Lisa, there's over 100 different models. And for me, doing consulting work with nonprofits and socially minded businesses, it's a crowded space. There's lots of folks out there who are consultants in organizational change and transformation. And I think the commitment to measuring the impact that you're actually having with clients and walking alongside clients as a certified B Corp sets your business apart from others. Initially, I didn't feel like the certification actually did much for setting myself apart, because as a nonprofit organization, where primarily the clients that I had, they knew you would be mission aligned if they were going to hire you, because they sensed that in the interviewing process. And I think that was a lot of what was important to them. But now what we're really seeing is a level of sophistication in the consumer, if we will talk about in, businesses and companies and nonprofits who are consuming your services are really more intentional about the kinds of companies they want to partner with, including consultants. And so it does help me and my company really increase the intentionality around measuring the type of impact that we have with the clients that we support.
That's great, Mary. Thank you for sharing that. And again, I think staying ahead of the curve, right? Because this movement really is, so let's say 14 or 15 years old. I mean, really, it's probably only 10 years old, legitimately, because it took several years to get off the ground. I mean, just like sustainability. I mean, the first jobs of sustainability were in 2005. So there's so much that's happened and shifted and changed just in the last 10 years, right, of us being in business. And it's pretty amazing to see how these shifts and changes are helping, I think, us. So I'm going to speak for Evolution Marketing. And I think, Mary, you same for Vista Global. And I'm guessing too for August for Cream City, because we're continuously improving our business and we're consultants helping other businesses or helping other nonprofits, we're helping them to continuously improve, and we're helping them to think about these key topics that are front and center, that are gaining gaining understanding in the mainstream, right? So it's kind of like you said, yes, you got to put your seatbelt on to get ready to go through, do the BIA, but as you go through the process, it opens your mind to thinking about things differently and thinking about something you may not have done before, and something you can bring into the system.
Exactly. And I think August just shared that in the chat, that she, through the impact assessment process, the BIA, that she has a virtual office stewardship policy that she's now sharing with, her clients. So that ripple effect that happens.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Oh, and guess this, Melina is joining us now.
All right.
So hello, Melina Marcus. Mary's gonna pull up your slides.
Yes,
so
I
just,
am.
Just give us a hot minute. And then Melina, if you want to unmute yourself and come on off the screen, there you are.
Nice.
Melina is our 5th speaker today, and we're so happy to have her with us. Mary's is that the first one? We're gonna turn it over to Melina.
One second, I'm having some technical difficulties here.
You're on.
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well today. Wanted to talk to you about Rebel Green as a certified B Corp. We are a Wisconsin-based small business certified B Corporation. We're women-owned and a lifestyle brand of plant-powered cleaners. We created the brand in 2008 to change everybody's home care habits for good. Wanted safer alternatives for families, including our own, who have skin sensitivities to ingredients commonly found in conventional and some natural products. And we were not finding much on the market to meet our needs. And now I know one of the questions is, how difficult was it for us to become a B Corp? We founded our small business with the purpose of developing products that were environmentally safer for families, and safer for the planet. We were already building business as a force for good into our business DNA, and it took us about 2 years to achieve B Corp certification. Our core values, clean air, clean food, clean water, our human right, are communicated through the certifications we choose and our social media. Our product lineup includes everything from tree-free bamboo toilet paper to sulfate-free dish soap, plant-powered all-purpose cleaner, and USDA certified organic laundry products and foaming hand soap. We achieved our B Corp certification in 2019 when we made the strategic decision to operate the firm in a triple bottom line manner. We believe we can leverage our visibility through our products and by communicating our advocacy through our media outreach. As a small women-owned business, we know we can be leaders in the field of economic and business development, as well as environmental and social policy. By supporting B Corps, people are supporting businesses that are reducing inequality, lowering levels of poverty,
designing products for a healthier environment, and creating high-quality jobs with dignity and purpose. Recent data from SPINS shows that even during the pandemic, products labeled B Corp were up 11%, and this is from August 2020. I know you want to know what action our business is doing to address climate change in Wisconsin. We continue to educate our consumers on the root causes of climate change by the ingredients and certifications we choose through our social media channels and partnerships with organizations who share our same values and climate advocacy. Additionally, we are committed to working with as many local manufacturers as possible and only those who share our same eco-friendly production methods. To reduce the environmental impact caused by transportation, our manufacturers use local suppliers whenever possible. And then what initiative is our business doing now to address social responsibility? We offer better for you products with cleaner ingredients. We always follow the strictest European ingredient standards and list every ingredient on our label, unlike many other companies. We work with retailers like Outpost Food Co-op and Thrive Market as well, who also have tough ingredient standards. We evaluate every ingredient for its environmental impact, safety, efficacy, source labeling, animal testing as well. We only work with partners who share our same values, and we disclose ingredients on our labels. It can make it hard to compete with brands head-to-head who don't. We achieved Safer Choice certification for our fruit and veggie clean. Safer Choice is part of the EPA pollution prevention program and helps purchasers find products that perform and contain ingredients that are safer for human health and the environment. Our products have a shorter, cleaner slate of ingredient lists, and we're free from harsh chemicals found in many conventional products. Free from chemicals like sulfates, synthetic fragrances, dyes, optical brighteners, phosphates, parabens, ammonia, just for starters, and only essential oils are used. We pride ourselves on making cruelty-free products as certified by the Leaping Bunny Association program. Leaping Bunny is the only internationally recognized symbol of guaranteeing consumers that no new animal tests were used in the development of any products displaying it. Consumers share this value as sales of products labeled cruelty-free are up 19% according to SPINS data from last year, that was 2 years ago, August 20th. Every purchase of Rebel Green products goes towards Trees for the Future, whose mission is to end poverty by training farmers to regenerate their land. Our laundry detergent line is USDA certified organic, and we recently came out with a line of certified organic foaming hand soaps. We know organics are on the rise as well. Sales of products labeled organic were up 11% according to SPINS in the second half of 2020. And then to offset the carbon generated from the tree-free line, we partnered with the Paradigm Project, a social enterprise focused on combating poverty in East Africa, to fund the Clean Cook Stoves for women and families in rural Kenya. The Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves states the basic act of cooking kills more than 4 million people a year, and more than half the world still cooks on an open flame. We work with Gold Standard, a nonprofit governing body that certifies only the highest quality carbon offset projects that are committed to partnerships with local communities. As a certified women-owned business, we proudly display the logo of our products to create a movement of support for women-owned businesses. The Women's Business Enterprise National Council, WBENC, is a leading nonprofit organization dedicated to helping women-owned businesses thrive and crafting an environment of opportunity for women-owned. The WBENC logo on marketing materials and websites shows support for women entrepreneurs. You also might recognize the women-owned logo. It brings consumer recognition to women-owned businesses by raising awareness for why, where, and how to buy women-owned. And then I know a question was, what has been the collateral beauty during the pandemic? Thank you, August, for that one. Coming together as a community. We pivoted production and offered discounts to meet the needs of our community, grappling with the spread of COVID, including production on new essential items like reusable face masks, new environmentally WHO-approved formulas of safe hand sanitizers. We increased production of our carbon neutral tree-free line from bamboo. We came up with more plant-powered household cleaners and sulfate-free, synthetic fragrance-free hand soaps. We offer donations of our face masks to our frontline workers at grocery stores. And we also pivoted to increase products suddenly in demand, such as our new smaller fruit and veggie clean, which helped fill voids on the shelves of our local retailers like Outpost and Sendix and Whole Foods Market stores in Wisconsin and throughout the country. Let's see, what else can I tell you? It was important for us to invite consumers to repair the world by taking an essential product like toilet paper, making it just as soft as conventional to help educate the consumer on what a big impact we could all make simply by switching our role. We believe we made an impact for the better on getting this message out and driving many more people to try a relatively new sustainable product during a time of increased demand for essentials. In the early stages of the pandemic, with calls coming in from all over the country, we dropped off everything we had in Milwaukee: hand sanitizers, toilet paper, hand soaps, to our local retail partners like Outpost, Food Co-op, Metcalfe's, and Sednick's food markets. And we advocate for policies that will bring about a regenerative and equitable society, which we can talk about when we go into the B Corp Climate Collective. So Lisa, I will turn that back over to you.
Okay, well, wait, don't go anywhere, Melina.
Sure.
One of our attendees is in Illinois, and they would like to know where they can buy your products in
sure.
Illinois.
Let's see. We have been selling at Sunset Food Market. I'm trying to think where else in Illinois now. Some select, let's see, what are the metro markets there? Can't think of the name right now. Pick and Save, it's the Roundies. I can get back to you on that one and give you the list.
Are you at Costco in Illinois or Whole Foods in Illinois?
We are in Costco in the Bay Area. We just launched. So hopefully go into your Costco locally and request Rebel Green. Our laundry detergent is in the Costco in the Bay Area. Whole Foods, we have been in there for various products. You might still have some fruit and veggie clean left in Whole Foods, but I'm not sure. I've not checked our Illinois assortment lately in Whole Foods to see if we're still there, but I will get back to you. You can just email us and let me know.
What about Target? August says she feels like she's seen Rebel Green and Target in Illinois.
Oh, okay. Thank you, August. We are offered online, target.com. And a few years ago, our fruit and veggie clean was in Target in the produce department, and hopefully we'll be back in there again.
That's excellent. Thanks, Melina. We did talk about the Climate Collective before when you were not here, but if you'd like to add anything about some of the work that Rebel Green has done as far as tying in with the Climate Collective and the outreach engagement / tied to public policy, that would be great. If you want to tell us a little bit about that, Melina.
Oh, sure. Just recently, we used our voice as a business, along with other businesses, to leverage the power of the natural product industry for climate action. We joined the hashtag Call for Climate Now 2021 campaign, which was to encourage the American public to call their senators and congressmen and urge them to address the threat of our changing climate. We participated by crafting messaging and posted on our social channels. A great quote that I heard recently is, and I have it up on my wall, is good corporate climate leadership requires good corporate climate policy leadership. So I think that's something important for all business leaders to take into consideration. And then I just want to say the Climate Collective through B Corp, as Lisa, you probably shared, is just a wonderful resource for free articles, commitments, and questions that people may have on this arduous journey. So to help with climate action. Some of the other things we participated in was a coalition. I don't know, Lisa, if you talked about this one, between Cirrus, the Climate Collaborative, which is
but why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because one of the things that people can participate in later is workshops that they're going to be doing later this month. Remember, we talked about this yesterday. Yes. So why don't you talk about the partnership, and then Mary, if you want to bring up our slides and work towards the information slide, the event listing slide, that'd be great. Okay, Melina, talk about Cirrus partnerships with BLM.
Sure. So through the Climate Collective, it's really exciting that coalitions are forming. There was one formed in 2020, and this was between Cirrus and Climate Collaborative and the B Corp Climate Collective. And this was the Lead on Climate 2020. This was during the height of the pandemic, and it was the largest virtual business call to action to address climate change. And the Lead on Climate 2020 brought together businesses large and small from sectors across the US economy to call on Congress to pass a resilient stimulus plan and to build back better, which we all know about, while working towards long-term climate solutions, including a price on carbon. We were one of 280 companies, both large and small, that signed up to call on Congress to pass the stimulus plan and build back better while working toward long-term climate solutions. What was great about this, there's so many great things about it, but we participated in advocacy training, best practices on how to advocate effectively with different audiences. And we really were talking about how the plight of the small minority-owned and women-owned business really needs support, and how we can support these businesses by building a sustainable and equitable economy as we build back better. And so we were all proud to have our voices heard at Lead on Climate 2020. So that's just one of the initiatives. And then Lisa, you said that there's going to be workshops.
Yes, so based on what happened in 2020 that Melina and I were both actually part of, B Lab is partnering with Cirrus to offer some upcoming workshops, which is super exciting. So what you have in front of you right now is a list of things that are coming, and it's part of the Reset. So RESET leadership series that B Labs is putting together. So the first one is aligning the rules, becoming an advocate for policy change. And that workshop, it's 2 hours on March 3rd, and it's in partnership, and it's B Labs and Cirrus together are helping members of the B Corp community. And if you're not a certified B Corp, that's okay. They want you to attend as well. This is open to everyone, and it's free to attend. The workshop will help you to be a better climate advocate and to do more, bring public policy work into the work that your business is doing. And then they are doing on March 31st, again, as part of the Reset Leadership Program, they'll be doing an Achieving Racial Equity workshop. Again, this is tying in with August's work. And again, it's to help B Corps and non-B Corps, again, free, open to the public, to really help bring into our own organizational structure, racial equity, and to address our own system. So what's really nice about where B Labs is at, and what this movement has been growing so much, is that there really now are a lot of external resources for folks who are interested in this movement or interested in this community to take advantage of. So those are 2 of the programs that are coming up. There'll also be a program on March 15th. It's called Behind the B. So for those of you who don't know, March is the National Certified B Corp month in US and Canada. And so this Behind the B program will talk about and unpack what it takes to be a certified B Corp. So if you're interested in learning more about the certification process and digging into it, please attend that. It's free and open to the public. We're also going to be having it's called a Build event, and this will be in late September, and it's going to be the Wisconsin B Local community will be partnering with the B Locals throughout the Midwest to host. We're looking at right now a half day, could potentially be a full day workshop, again, addressing many of these topics that have been brought up today within your business. So there will be a fee to attend. We don't know what that is yet, but Sarah and I are on the planning committee representing Wisconsin. There's going to be a really nice opportunity to interface and interact with other certified Bs across Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, Missouri, Ohio, I think. I don't remember if there's any other states that are part of it, but we'll all be together working through workshops and programming tied to several of the key topics we discussed today. So stay tuned for more information on that. And then this is not a B Corp specific event, but on March 8th for International Women's Day, our Women in Sustainability group in the state of Wisconsin will be hosting a Women's Sustainability program. So this is open to all women who are interested in learning more. It's a free event, a free program. We'll be talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, and we've got 2 amazing speakers who will be talking about the work that they're doing within the green building and sustainability space. So please feel free to attend that event as well. And now I'd like to go back. Mary wants us to know, are there other questions folks have about becoming a certified B Corp? Because we do have some other slides. And so we just want to see if there are any other questions in the chat that we can answer right now about becoming a certified B Corp. We do have resources on our Be Local Wisconsin website. So if you've not been to belocalwisconsin.org, that's our website. Please follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. And we do send out a Be Local Wisconsin e-newsletter. So you can go sign up for that newsletter on the Be Local Wisconsin website. And since I'm not hearing any questions, we're just going to go through these slides real quickly about who can certify for-profit companies of any size, any industry or geographic region. Basically, when you do your B impact assessment, it's based on your own customized individual information about your business. Okay. Any legal structure, whether it's an LLC, a sole proprietor, or as we just talked about in Wisconsin, we now have the benefit corporation structure. And then companies over 1 year old, special pending B Corp program for startups. So as I'd said before, if you're starting a new business, you can come out the gate as a pending B Corp. The requirements are the B impact assessment, and you have to score a minimum of 80 points out of 200. It does take a while to go through and answer all the questions. There's a lot of questions, and based on how you answer the questions at the beginning, that will put additional questions in to your B impact assessment. And this is actually an audited process. So if you just want to see kind of where your business fits, you could complete the B impact assessment and not actually submit it. If you want to submit it, I would say, make sure that the information you're giving is accurate, because you will have to be able to provide documentation, which is the auditing function of completing the B impact assessment and why it's a certified process. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Once you have put together your B impact assessment, you have to meet legal requirements. Those legal requirements are spelled out on the B impact, on the B Labs website. I don't know if we have a link to it. Maybe Sarah could share that. They've done a great job providing resources. So if you're an LLC, there's specific language you would add into your articles of incorporation, or depending upon how you're organized, there's different language you would need to use to make it so that the legal requirement is met. And what that basically means is your legal requirement states that if you were to sell your business, or your business was to be bought by somebody else, the structure would not change. The B Corp structure would not change. Okay. And then, yes, you sign the Declaration of Interdependence. That's what we were talking about way back in the beginning when August and I were talking about businesses coming to us who want to support other B Corp businesses. We all rise together. And so you were part of this movement. And so the goal is that when you go to recertify, one of the questions B Lab asks is about your supply chain. And they ask you how many of the businesses that you're getting services from, so you're purchasing services from, how many of those businesses are certified B Corps or women owned or minority owned. And that's one of the questions they ask you, because they want to know if, again, you're putting your money from your business where your values are. Next slide, Mary. Let's see, meeting the performance requirements. There's 5 areas that your information is put into: community, environment, workers, governance, and consumers. And so every business, again, is a little bit different. So some businesses may have like really high community scores, and they may have a very small worker score. For example, if your workers are subcontractors or you're a solo entrepreneur, you may not have any worker score, which is totally okay. It's really based on, what's nice about the B impact assessment is it's based on the structure of your business. And because there's all these different models that exist, your business is put into the structure and then you're compared. So when you get ultimately you get your score, Mary had mentioned best for the world. And so that's the top 5% of businesses in any category every year. So then at best for the world, you're actually compared across other businesses that are just like yours. So it's really very nice. It helps you to kind of understand where your business is within the rubric, because you can't compare a small business to Danone, right? But you can compare 2 small businesses who have a light environmental footprint, who are both consulting services. You can compare those. Next slide. Here's what the B impact assessment looks like. And as it says there, over 50,000 businesses have used this free confidential tool. So you can go in right now, create a login and user ID for yourself, and go in and start answering questions. Doesn't mean you're submitting it yet, but you can just use this as a tool even to think about things you may not think about for your business. Next slide. Okay, this is a new tool that I love. It's called the SDG Action Manager. And what this tool is, it came out in it was created in 2019 as a partnership between the United Nations Global Compact and B Labs. And it came out in January, February of 2020. And so Evolution Marketing, we were a beta tester for it. And so what it does is it takes the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which have 169 targets or sub areas within the goals, and it maps all of those targets to business actions. And then those business actions you get questions like SDG number 13, which is climate action. If you go to that widget inside of it, it asks you questions about your climate action. And the cool thing is that this is built on the same platform that if you complete the B impact assessment, that same platform is used. So any information you put into the SDG Action Manager will actually ultimately map you in to your first B impact assessment. So the SDG Action Manager is created as a tool to help businesses think through their actions and how their actions are related to the Sustainable Development Goals. It is not meant to be a certifier, okay? But if you want to get certified on the impacts of your actions, you complete the SDG Action Manager and maps your actions into the BIA, B Impact Assessment, and then you go through and you finish the B Impact Assessment, and then that's when you get the certification. Does that make sense? So it's a tool to help you just to understand, because the Sustainable Development Goals were new as of 2015, many businesses aren't familiar with how they work. And so this tool was created to help businesses to say, let's look at from a holistic sustainability standpoint, all these different actions and how they're related and connected together. Next slide, please, Mary. Yeah, so here's an example of what it looks like on the back side. So you can see a score. So this is a business, so this is Artisan Dental's, okay. So you can see Artisan Dental's overall score. And then you can see that it says introducing the SDG Action Manager beta. And so then Artisan Dental was able to go in and to do the beta. So it all shows up in the same basic landing page for your B Impact Assessment. It's all back there. Okay, next slide. Then we've talked about the upcoming events, which is super exciting. And we are now going to turn it over to Sarah, my co-chair, and she is going to talk about the rest of the B Corps in Wisconsin. Sarah, take it away.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, we wanted to just share with you all kind of an example of all of the B Corps we have in Wisconsin. So you're hearing from 5 of us today. There are currently 17. Stone Creek is our most recently certified one, although I know there's a few in the pending or pursuing certification. So I imagine this number might change pretty soon, which is super exciting. You know, over half of these have come in, I think in like the last, or about half in the last 3 years, like Lisa was talking about the growth of the B Corp community. So awesome. Workshop Architects is here. They hosted a fantastic event last fall. You know, we're seeing that growth in Milwaukee and kind of really all over the state to grow this movement. So I'm super excited to get to know and work with all of these B Corps. I think you'll be hearing from more as we hopefully have more in-person events, potentially, you know, another virtual event. But please, you know, if you know these businesses, you know, support these businesses, you know, ask questions. I think we all have kind of a different process of our certification and how we approach the B Corp movement, how that looks in all of our businesses. So I think our goal is to continue having these events and highlighting all of the businesses, especially as we grow. So yeah, I think please, yeah, follow up there. And if you have any other questions, I guess, you know, can answer maybe a couple more today. Otherwise, feel free to email Lisa or I. Our emails are here. They'll be included in a mailing. Oh, here we go. New question from Lori about the B Corps in Illinois. I bet could probably find that out.
There are
quick, yeah.
There's a group in Chicagoland. I don't know how throughout the rest of Illinois, but I know about the Chicago group. We've been interacting with folks from basically the greater Chicagoland area for, well, since 2016 for me. And I know Mary knows all about those folks too. And actually the gentleman who's leading our build event this fall, his name is Tim Frick, and he is the former chair of Be Local Illinois, and he owns Mighty Bytes. So they're a technology company in Chicago, and they're doing a lot of great stuff there. I don't know about the positive legislative environment helping to create sustainability in the movement. From everything I understand that's happened down there, and Mary, feel free to tell me if this is wrong, but it's really more about it's word of mouth. It's really the folks who are certified B Corps. They share with their supply chain, they share with their partners, and they grow the movement. So I don't know in Illinois if the legislative environment helped or not. I'm going to say I don't think so. I think it was really about who you knew, because everyone I've met in Illinois kind of got brought into the movement by meeting somebody else who was part of the B Corp movement there. Mary, is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they have benefit legislation passed yet in Illinois, but certainly, I mean, Sarah's put the link to the Be Local in Illinois in the chat box, and they can certainly support, you know, any other questions specific to Illinois legislation and what's going on with the movement there.
Any other questions from any of our attendees?
Not, I think we'll probably wrap it up here. We'll be in touch with the slides and all the links that I've been sending in the chat. Again, feel free to let us know if you have any questions. Thank you all for joining us. It's been awesome.
Thank you. Have a great
Thanks,
day.
everybody. Great to have you. Appreciate everybody joining. Thanks so much.
Thanks,